Welcome back everyone. Bandits are one of the most common enemy types that you will encounter when travelling across Skyrim. In this video, we will take a look at a selection of mods that overhaul bandits and make them more interesting to come up against. In vanilla Skyrim, there are only 6 tiers of bandits that you can encounter, and each one feels very similar to the last. So starting out, I want to showcase 3 different overhaul mods. You only need to download one, but they all add some much needed variety. First is the popular overhaul known as Organized Bandits of Skyrim, or OBIS. This is one of the largest and most well known bandit overhauls for Skyrim, adding over 50 new bandit variants separated into what is called gangs, which are basically different archetypes of bandits that you can encounter. Each gang has a certain strength, weakness, and even some lore behind them. For example, the Bandit Whisperer can turn invisible, but has weak defense. If you want to know more, you can read about each and every one of these gangs in the lore-friendly Book of Bandits series that goes into much more detail about each one. The variety you will encounter is immense here. No longer will you see the same bandits over and over again, but instead some new, exciting, and often more difficult variants. The other main feature of this overhaul is the introduction of an extra spawning system, which allows you to spawn additional bandits at each camp. This is done through a mod menu where you can select the number of new bandits, both for exterior and interior, or disable the feature entirely. I do recommend going on the safe side here, as you can quickly become overwhelmed. Another optional feature is the addition of bandit patrols, where you will come across a handful of bandits moving from one camp to another. Overall, this mod has a ton of content for you to experience and makes each bandit encounter feel a lot more unique. If you're looking for something more simple, then the Lawless bandit overhaul might be the one for you. This mod implements a new bandit tier system ranging from level 1 bandits to a level 50 bandit conqueror, greatly increasing the difficulty and challenge of clearing a bandit camp. This also applies to the bandit chief, who are now significantly harder to overcome. To go alongside the new tiers, high level bandits will also receive some improved weaponry and armor. Nothing is too overpowered though, just some slightly better stats and enchanted items for additional difficulty scaling. On top of that, Lawless also includes 18 new bandit archetypes, which include the classic archer, mage and warrior, as well as new hybrids such as the witch hunter, who will use conjuration instead of a standard bow. Now this is less variety than the OBIS mod, however the variation here feels more thought out and impactful on your gameplay. I also highly recommend using the Skyrim add-on, which utilizes mods such as Mysticism and Adamant to expand the amount of spells and enchantments that the bandits have access to, creating even more variety in your gameplay. This overhaul is still being updated, with an increased spawn feature currently being worked on and will hopefully be implemented soon. Otherwise, go ahead and enjoy this fantastic bandit overhaul for Skyrim. Lastly is the bandit overhaul called Rogues and Raiders. Much like Lawless, this overhaul adds new bandit archetypes in the form of a class system. There are 14 in total, with a great deal of variety. Each class also receives a special skill or perk. For example, the Berserker can enter a Berserker Rage, increasing both stamina and attack speed, or the Manhunter, an expert marksman, will fire armor-piercing arrows. Because of this, each encounter feels very unique, with different combat styles and abilities, making you think about how to approach each scenario. On top of that is the penalty system, where your character will receive certain injuries during combat, giving you a slight debuff. The injuries you receive will affect your vision, movement, or certain skills, and can be avoided if you block attacks or wear appropriate armor. Each injury will only last a few minutes, but if you don't like this feature, it is optional. However, the penalty system is recommended to get the full experience of the mod. To conclude, all three overhauls are great. If you just want a lot of variety and content, then OBIS would be the one for you. If you want something more refined, then either Lawless or Rogues and Raiders would be perfect. Both offer a great challenge and fit within the world of Skyrim very well, but if I had to choose, Rogues and Raiders would be my top pick. Moving on from complete overhauls, let's take a look at a mod that changes how you interact with a bandit camp called Lawbringer. As you know, in normal Skyrim, once you clear a bandit camp, a few days or weeks later, that area will once again become filled with more bandit enemies. This is where Lawbringer comes in. With this mod, when you clear a bandit camp, you can then claim the area and put the camp under the control of another faction. For example, the Stormcloaks or Imperial Empire. Not all bandit camps have this option, but it's still a nice addition to the game. If you have ever played the Far Cry game series, you may recognize this as a similar system to liberating enemy areas. What I like about this mod is you can actually see the effect that you have on the greater world of Skyrim. Slowly the bandit camps you defeat will be gone and replaced with new friendly factions instead of encountering the same bandits over and over again. Regarding compatibility, any mod that has additional spawns, like the OBIS Overhaul, may cause issues and shouldn't be used together unless you disable that feature, but otherwise it's a great immersive mod that makes Skyrim feel a little more alive. Now let's try to make the bandits a little more talkative with the mod called Bandit Lines Expansion. Bandits can often be heard repeating the same boring lines over and over again, which can become very repetitive. This mod changes that by adding and distributing new voice lines to the bandits found around Skyrim. These new lines are very creative and often humorous, but are also lore friendly and contain unique lines that will only be said by a certain race. Here are a few examples.
Ha! You don't have what it takes to kill me. Yield, and I may still show mercy.
Come on, killing you will make for an excellent story.
This is by no means all of the new lines. With hundreds of new ones added to the game, the best way to experience this mod is to download and try it for yourself. I can't recommend this mod enough. It's fantastic and really adds to the variety and playing experience of clearing out a few bandit camps. It's also part of a wider series of line expansion mods that I will also link down below for those interested. These include Vampire, Forsworn, Thalma, and Civil War line expansions. Now with more talkative bandits, let's give them all new names as well, with the mod called Tamrielic Names, which uses a distributor framework to name all the NPCs around Skyrim. So instead of just seeing Bandit 1 and Bandit 2, each one you encounter will now have a unique name above their health bar. The names are also very lore friendly and take into account different naming conventions from certain races, for example the Khajiit or Argonians. It is also very unlikely to encounter the same name twice, making each bandit feel unique and a part of a greater world of Tamriel. The only issue I came across was when using another mod to name some NPCs, you may see two names, but this wasn't a big problem for me and happened very rarely. This mod is also part of a series of mods that apply names to other factions around Skyrim, including Daedra, Dragons, the Forsworn, and Ashlander Nomads that will also be linked down in the description. And lastly is a mod called Fashions of Banditry, which will give your bandits some much needed variety in terms of armor. This lore-friendly armor pack includes several new armor pieces made from steel, dwarven metal, or even trollbone that will be used by the bandits all over Skyrim. The armors look like they have been scrapped together by materials found in caves or through hunting, which is very fitting for bandits in my opinion. You can also craft the armor for yourself if you like the style, and it does include body slides for some body mods, including CBBE and HIMBO. I've also included a link for an upscaled version of the armors if you are interested. Otherwise, enjoy the new fashion style of your new bandits. And that's all for this overhaul. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again next time. Cheers.